Hi, this is Ken of Vista Innovations, and I've scoured the YouTube universe for all the upgrades out there for the Bambu Lab P1 series and X1 series of 3D printers. And I've selected my top 20 upgrades, which I've implemented on my own printers. So let's get started. These are a combination of free 3D printed upgrades, as well as some upgrades that will cost you some money. But they are all worth it, in my opinion, to supercharge your Bambu Lab P1 or X series printers. Let's start deep inside the printer and work our way outside for the upgrades. Quick note, all the upgrades I'm about to cover have links in the description below if you want to learn more about them. Number 1. Hardened steel extruder and hot end. The X1C already comes standard with a hardened steel extruder and hot end, but the P1S only comes with stainless steel version. So if you want to print abrasive materials like carbon-filled or glass-filled filaments, then you need to upgrade the P1S. Fortunately, Bambu Lab offers a hardened steel extruder and hot ends for the P1S printer. The cost for a hardened steel extruder and hot end is about $55, which I think is well worth it to expand the capabilities of the P1S. Number 2, the Panda Revo hot end. It can be a pain in the neck to change out the hot ends in the P1 and X1 series of printers because it takes a while and you need to carefully disconnect some of the very delicate wiring. And there's always the chance that you will damage the wiring when installing the new hot end. Bambu Lab has made major design improvements with their new A1 series and H2D printers because the hot ends can be changed in less than a minute and you don't have to mess with any wires. A while ago, Big Tree Tech and E3D launched a joint venture product called the Panda Revo hot end that works on both the P1 series and the X1 series printers. The nice thing about this design is that you can easily change nozzles in less than a minute without any tools, and you don't touch any delicate wiring. I bought this hot end for my P1S a while ago, but I only recently installed it because I plan to be printing some larger parts and I wanted to use a 0.6mm nozzle, but I also wanted to quickly change back to the standard 0.4mm nozzle. The only wrinkle here is that it's a bit pricey, currently at $119 for the brass nozzle version. Since I didn't want to use a brass nozzle, I recently bought a 0.4mm and 0.6mm E3D Revo obsidian nozzles, which are compatible with the abrasive filaments. Each of these nozzles cost me about $63, so I spent almost as much money on the Revo hot end system as I spent on an entire Elegoo Centauri Carbon 3D printer. Oh well, it's only money. If you need a special part made and you don't have the capability in-house, I have the answer for you. This brings me to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay is a great resource for PCBs, CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, and various 3D printing, including metal printing. I have personally used their services to 3D print a stainless steel insert for my external spool Ysplitter. The stainless steel will ensure that it never will wear out from constant use. I went on their website, uploaded my Ysplitter insert design, selected stainless steel and quantity, and I received an instant quote. Then, after their engineering team reviewed and approved the quote, and they received my payment, they manufactured the parts and shipped them right to my door. Their customer service and quality of parts are excellent. Give them a try by using my affiliate link below. Now, back to the show. Number 3, tool head cover holder. This item is far less expensive. This clever 3D printed tool head cover, designed by Shoko on MakerWorld, easily clips onto the carbon rods of the printer, and it allows you to hold the tool head cover out of the way, and it takes the strain off the wiring while you're working on the tool head. Number 4, PTFE extruder bracket. This PTFE extruder bracket was designed by our Angry Badger on printables. Is a remix from an upgrade from Bambu Lab to address some filament issues entering the extruder. This allows a more gradual strain relief for the PTFE tubing. When it's installed correctly, it should swivel on top of the extruder head, and this works on both the P1 and X series printers. Number 5. Light bar, Big Tree Tech. A common complaint with the P1 and X1 series printers is that it is way too dark inside these printers to see inside, especially with the tinted glass on the top as well as the door. Big Tree Tech sent me this LED light bar for free to evaluate, so I installed it in my P1S to see how effective it is. You need to disconnect the existing light bar inside the P1S, and they provide a small adapter PCB to allow you to connect their light bar to the printer. I read that you can't connect the original Bambu Lab LED bar and the Big Tree Tech LED bar to the printer because if you have both lights on, they will draw too much power and damage the electronics. The Big Tree Tech LED bar is currently on sale for only $7.99, which I think is worth the small expense to improve the printer's lighting. Number 6. LED riser light upgrade with the shield. If you want to light up the inside of your printer like Chevy Chase lit up his house in the movie Christmas Vacation, then you're going to love this next upgrade. This upgrade is from Decarjati 251732 on printables. Involves printing a riser frame and a TPU gasket and then installing a LED strip 360 degrees around the inside of the printer. They angled the LEDs 60 degrees so the LEDs shine down onto the build plate. They also added a light shield as part of the TPU gasket so you aren't staring into the LEDs when you're looking through the top glass panel. This particular LED has a remote control which works great. It has its own power supply, which was what I was looking for. I 3D printed the frame from ABS so it could handle the heat. Then I glued the frame together using 3D glue. Next, I cut the LEDs into 4 strips and then I soldered the ends together using jumper wires. I admit I have some ugly soldering techniques, but I got the job done. Then I attached the strips to the frame using the adhesive on the back of the LEDs. To be extra sure the LEDs held, even when exposed to the heat, I added some hot melt glue to the assembly. Finally, I added the LED frame assembly and TPU shield on top, installed the glass top, and plugged it in. This LED assembly comes with a remote control and you can set the LEDs to 100%, 50%, or 25% power. And this makes a huge difference in being able to see inside the printer. Number 7. Cool Plate Super Tack, both Bambu Lab and Big Tree Tech. I normally use textured PEI build plates for all my prints because I usually get good adhesion and I don't need to use a glue stick. However, more recently, I have had some warping with large PLA prints. So I decided to buy the Bambu Lab Cool Plate Super Tack, which is designed to improve adhesion for PLA and PETG. It has a smooth surface, and I was amazed at how tenacious the PLA sticks to this build plate. I built this rugged box designed by Whitey on printables, and it had great adhesion, even for the thin hinges. At a price of $14.99, it is well worth it. Big Tree Tech sent me 2 versions of their special build plates for free for my evaluation. The first one's called Glacier, and it also has a smooth surface, and it's designed especially for PLA and PETG. However, it can be used for other materials such as ABS, PA, and other engineering materials. I also had success with the Glacier build plate when printing a rugged box with PLA. The price of the Glacier is $23.99. I also tried Big Tree Tech's Frostbite build plate, which has a coarser texture, similar to a normal textured build plate. The Frostbite is designed only for PLA and PETG. I printed another rugged box, and it had great adhesion. The price for the Frostbite is also $23.99. Number 8. Build Plate Specialty Designs by Big Tree Tech. Big Tree Tech also sent me a special build plate from their designer series. One side had a houndstooth pattern and the other side had a honeycomb pattern. I printed this rugged box out of PLA. At first I was having some adhesion problems, so I added brim to the design. Once the part cooled, the parts literally fell off the build plate. The surface patterns are subtle and very shiny if you like this look. This currently is on sale for $20.99. Number 9. Scrubbler Nozzle Wiper. Bambu Lab has made improvements to their nozzle wiper designs, especially for the A1 series and H2D printers, using what I describe as a stubby toothbrush concept. Several clever people have come up with designs to imitate the stubby toothbrush concept and incorporate into the P1, X1 series printers. I use the version by BR1ACC on MakerWorld, which is a remix of Adam L's design, which is called the Scrubbler. BR1ACC's version is made lower to keep the nozzle from hitting the Scrubbler too hard. It's a simple two-piece 3D printed part, which I printed in ABS due to the heat exposure. First, remove the stock nozzle wiper, then cut a small piece of the Bambu Lab A1 silicone wiper and glue it to one of the parts using super glue. Then install the stock nozzle wiper to the main 3D printed part and mount it to the printer. Then install the second 3D printed part that has the glued silicone wiper and you're all set. In the limited time I've used this upgrade, I really like how it's performing. Number 10. Carbon Filter Box by Voxel. This next upgrade is a simple replacement of the stock chamber activated carbon filter with one that also has a HEPA filter. This is made by Voxel and they claim that it removes 99.95% of nanoplastics, harmful VOCs, and odors. At $5.99, it's a small price to pay for safer 3D printing and it can be installed in less than a minute. Number 11. Build Plate Guide. Are you like me and do you struggle to align build plates when you are installing them in your Bambu Lab P1 or X1 series printers? I'm constantly having to readjust them because the back corners are lifted off the surface of the heated platen. This 3D printed build plate guide designed by 3D Tech Base on MakerWorld will make your life easier. I 3D printed this guide from ABS since it will be exposed to high temperatures, and it takes only a few seconds to snap onto the corner of your platen. I have found that if I install the build plate at a higher angle than normal and slightly rotate the build plate once it hits the build plate guide, that it's much easier to install my build plates without having to realign them due to the back corners sticking up in the air. Now, let's move to the outside of the printer. Number 12. Panda Touchscreen. One of the biggest complaints I've seen, which I agree with, is the 2.7-inch mono scroll screen for the P1 series of printers. It's not very user-friendly, especially compared to the standard color touch screens that are common on most 3D printers today. Big Tree Tech sent me the Panda Touch in early 2024, which is a 5-inch color touchscreen that was designed to solve the P1 series clunky screen. I did an evaluation video during February of 2024, and the link is in the description below. At the time, I only had the Bambu Lab X1C, which has a great color screen. So even though the Bambu Touch allows you to monitor multiple printers in your shop, I really didn't use it very much. More recently, I bought a P1S, and I saw firsthand how clunky the P1S screen was. So I decided to resurrect the Panda Touch and install it on my P1S. It's easy to install by connecting the cable to a USB port inside the P1S and attaching the Panda Touch to the front of the P1S. I find it much easier to use than the Bambu Lab mono scroll screen, and it allows me to see different filaments in my AMS, which you can't see with the stock mono screen. At $59, I think it's a reasonable price to improve the user experience when running the P1S. The wrinkle is, as expected, Bambu Lab has recently rolled out their latest firmware for the P1 series and A1 series printers that implements Bambu Lab's security enhancements, which is the same security restrictions that they previously launched for their X1 series printers. I have a video on this topic which is in the description below if you want to learn more about that. The new Bambu Lab firmware will restrict the functionality of the Panda Touch, so you should do all your research to determine if you want to take the risk to buy the Panda Touch. Frankly, I don't know why Bambu Lab hasn't come out with an optional color touchscreen for the P-series printers, because I think a lot of people would buy it. Number 13. Desiccant trays and modules for the AMS. The first one is a two-part upgrade and it involves the AMS Bambu Lab Automated Material System. I found this clever design from Roland Duchesne on printables that allows you to replace the packs of desiccant with desiccant beads. The trays have a two-piece lid to make it easier to fill the trays with the desiccant beads. The nice thing about the beads is that they change color when they are saturated, and then you can dry them out in a microwave and reuse them. The second part of this upgrade is the design by Thomas 63847 on printables that allows you to insert 3 desiccant holders into the front of the AMS. The thing I really like about this design is you can mount a humidity gauge and you can easily monitor the humidity and temperature in the AMS without opening it. Number 14, AMS Disconnect Tool. There are various versions of this design, but this is a great design from Jody on printables to address what I believe to be a small design flaw by Bambu Lab. This tool has 2 purposes. First, this tool works great to disconnect the Teflon tubing from the back of the printer. It also has a second function to depress the latch to the cable connector so it can be unplugged. I've never seen a design of a polarized connector where you couldn't just use your fingers to disconnect it. So I feel this is a small design flaw by Bambu Lab. And I am surprised that Bambu Lab hasn't addressed this since they launched the X1C 3 years ago. Number 15, external spool holder side mount. One common complaint I see all the time is that most people don't like it when 3D printer manufacturers mount their external spools on the back of their printers. Most people have printers on their shelving units, so it's hard to access the back of the printers. This side-mounted external spool holder designed by M Design on MakerWorld solves this problem. I printed the design in ABS to make sure it was strong enough to handle the 1 kilogram spools. You can easily install the side-mounted spool holder using the same screw locations as the stock spool holder and 2 screw locations at the top of the printer. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing for more entertaining videos. Number 16, Ysplitter for external spools. If you have the AMS, not all filaments can fit into the AMS. Bambu Lab doesn't recommend putting TPU filament into the AMS because it's so flexible. Also, they don't recommend cardboard spools, and some other filament manufacturer spools don't fit into the AMS. This Ysplitter design by Ed Johnson on printables is a clever design that allows you to feed filament from an external spool without having to disconnect the tubing from the AMS. I also like that he uses pneumatic connectors for the Teflon tubing. I added a small improvement of my own design to allow the filament to move more smoothly through the Ysplitter. My small insert acts like a funnel to force the filament into the center of the pneumatic connectors so that the end of the filament doesn't catch and get hung up. I made a detailed video on my insert and that link is in the description below. Number 17, Bambu Lab filament adapter. If you don't want to 3D print a Ysplitter for your external spools, then you can always buy a Bambu Lab filament adapter. At only $4.99, it's a low-cost solution to add external spools of filament to your Bambu Lab printer without having to disconnect the Teflon tubing from the AMS. I did install this on my P1S printer, but I found it was a bit tricky to install filaments at times without them getting hung up inside the adapter. So I went ahead and installed the 3D printed Ysplitter on both my X1C and P1S printers, and it has worked great. Number 18, poop bucket. There are zillions of designs out there for poop buckets to capture the filament waste that's generated during the Bambu Lab printing process. Every time the printer starts a print, it purges the filament, as well as every time a color change is made on a multicolor print. So the printer creates a lot of waste. What I like about this design by Sellerbach on printables is that it's large, so it holds a lot of waste filament, and it wraps around the side of the printer, so it's easy to see from the front if it's getting full. Number 19, build plate scraper, plastic. This next upgrade is a simple scraper that can be used for any printer to remove parts and calibration strips from the build plate. There are many scrapers out there, but what I like about this design is that it comes with a lifetime supply of disposable plastic blades. What's nice is the plastic blades won't scratch your build plate and you can't get injured by the blade. It only costs about $11 and the link is in the description. Number 20, build plate scraper, metal, Big Tree Tech. Do you know how you like to pamper yourself sometimes with a bubble bath? Oh, did I say that out loud? Well, I have the ultimate build plate scraper for you. When Big Tree Tech sent me this metal-handled build plate scraper for me free to evaluate, I thought this was overkill for such a simple task. Then I used it and I fell in love with it. It has such a thin, smooth blade. It removes parts from build plates like cutting through butter. The current price is $19.99, and I love this thing so much I bought one and I have 2 scrapers now in my shop within easy reach. As a bonus, I have 2 additional upgrades to share with you. Number 21, build plate holder. I have 2 versions of a build plate storage rack for you. The first design is a desktop build plate holder designed by Alvin Pan on printables. The built-in legs keep the holder from tipping over, and it fits nicely between my printers so I can quickly swap out build plates. The second design is by me that was loosely inspired by Alvin Pan's desktop design. I wanted to store some of my other various build plates, but I wanted to hang them on a wall so they wouldn't take up precious space on my workbench. I have a French cleat system for my various tools, so I designed this rack to hold 5 of my build plates. It easily removes from the French cleat and it stands upright or on its side. You could also just screw this into the wall if you wanted to. If you wanted to mount it to French cleats, Chris from A Glimpse Inside sells French cleat strips, and the link is in the description. Number 22. Luke's Laboratory Pika Hotend on Kickstarter. I am one of 520 backers of Luke's Laboratory Pika Hotend Kickstarter campaign, which just ended on June 1st of 2025. Luke claims this hot end design will be 36% faster with the same print quality as the stock Bambu Lab hot ends. The Pika hot end is advertised to reach between 40 cubic millimeters per second and 50 cubic millimeters per second volumetric flow rates, which is a major upgrade to the Bambu Lab printers. The Kickstarter price of the Pika hot end was $90, and Luke is expecting to ship the Pika hot ends to us Kickstarter backers during October of 2025. So, stay tuned to see a future video by me on my results from my Pika hot end. If you want to see major upgrades that I did to my Bambu Lab A1 Mini, that link is here. If you want to see my video titled Bambu Lab P1S Printer, Better Value Than X1C, that link is here. Thanks for watching. Bye!